Hello everybody, welcome back. If you'd like to take your seats, we'll get going on the last session of this fully packed day. I hope you're feeling well caffeined up, full of vim and vigour for this session, which is about technology and the digital economy, with all the opportunities but very real challenges that they bring. How can they best be used for social impact? To chair our discussion, it's my pleasure to welcome Audrey Tang, Digital Minister in the Government of Taiwan, and also a civic hacker. Joining on the panel are Howard Weinstein, who is the CEO of Solar Ear in Canada, which sells low-cost, high-tech hearing aids into developing countries. Next along is Nicole, Project Coordinator of the Digital Superheroes Academy in Thailand, an educational app that teaches life skills in the form of superpowers to vulnerable children in underserved communities. Moving along, we have Coyle, CEO of Auticon UK. It's an award-winning IT and compliance consulting business in which all the consultants are on the autism spectrum. And along at the end, Carol Andrade, co-founder and executive director of Social Good Brazil, which is a social innovation non-profit. All have immensely rich experiences of tech for good to share with us. So over to you, Audrey.
大家好, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here to share with you and thank the MC for introducing me as a civic hacker. I'm not just a civic hacker, I'm a conservative anarchist. So I'm working with the Taiwan government, not for the Taiwan government, just for the record. And I have three conditions. There was a compact or a covenant, as we heard this morning, or a protocol, however you want to call it. Three agreements that I signed with the Premier when I joined the cabinet 2 years ago. And the three ideas are radical transparency. Everything I see, I publish to the internet so that people know the why instead of just the what and how of the governance. And the second thing, of course, other than radical transparency, is voluntary association. So I don't take command and I don't give command, and everything is by voluntary association. And so it's thanking to the 12 ministers that we have the 4-year plan of the social innovation that Karen introduced very eloquently yesterday. And the third thing is location independence, and that is what I want to focus on for the Tech for Good panel, because the internet and the open web offers a tremendous opportunity for people regardless of where they are, and as long as they have broadband. In Taiwan, we have broadband as a human right. If they have broadband, if they have access to the right devices, then it acts as a great equalizer. And if they don't have that, then it acts as a great unequalizer. And so we'll be hearing a lot of tech for good stories from the awesome speakers of tech as hopefully an equalizer going forward. So without further ado, let's hear from Howard.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Howard Weinstein. I'm a social entrepreneur. I've started about 10 different social businesses, some with some success, others with spectacular failures. I'm going to talk about one of our successes, and that's Solar Ear. Solar Ear makes solar-powered hearing aids invented by people who are deaf for people with a hearing loss in developing countries. You know, there's about 600 million people with a hearing loss in the world. You put them all together, it's the third biggest country in the world. That's how big the problem is. You know, a hearing loss for a child prevents them from learning to develop speech and going to school. Often in developing countries, adults lose their hearing through industrial noise pollution. They lose their job. And raise your hand if you have an aunt, an uncle, a parent, or grandparent who has lost their hearing. Whoa, look around. You know, often a senior who loses their hearing becomes excluded from family conversations and he becomes depressed. So that's the size of the problem. The other problem, too, is hearing aids cost about £1,000, 1,000 to 5,000 pounds. But the problem we really started in developing country was a hearing aid battery. A hearing aid battery costs about $1 and lasts about a week. Now, obviously, if you're living in a developing country, not only you can't afford $1 a week, you can't find the battery. So we started this program with 10 young deaf women in rural Botswana. We sat down with them and said, tell us about your life. So they talked about being poor in rural Africa. And the face of poverty is pretty similar around the world. There's a bit of a stigma involved if you have a disability. Then we said, what are your hopes and dreams? Well, we'd love to get a job. There's no jobs basically for women, and certainly no jobs for women with a disability. Often we're given hearing aids from charities or NGOs, but the problem is they give us a hearing aid, they have their picture taken us with at the school, they go back home, but there's no batteries. We can't afford a battery. Now let's invent a rechargeable hearing aid battery. And we'd like to be looked as a full person. One of our missions is that people see a person who is deaf as a person who is deaf and not a deaf person. So they also helped develop, not only invented the product, which I'll show you soon, they also invented a new business model for us. They invented it. So think our social business is like a three-dimensional game of tic-tac-toe, or X's and O's, or X's and nuts, or jogo de velha, depending where you come from. So just think of a three-dimensional game of tic-tac-toe, okay? The first level with the 9 squares is your business. We run a professional business, okay? And we do everything, all the marketing, the sales, the quality control, because we want to show, too, that people with a disability can work at a world-class level, that they should be hired. The second level is the social missions of SolarEar. So think of the center square of that second level of the tic-tac-toe game. The center square is education. If you can get a child a hearing aid before the age of 3, she can learn to hear, develop speech, and go to a public school, because there are no schools for the deaf in developing countries. And as we all know, it's only through education do you break the cycle of poverty. I worked in Africa for 5 years, in Botswana, and HIV/AIDS was a major problem there. And whoever solves HIV/AIDS deserves a Nobel Prize. But I believe you educate the children of Africa, and Africa becomes wealthier. So it's all about education. In Botswana, their social mission, they also worked on HIV/AIDS for the deaf. And we lowered HIV/AIDS from 38% to 10%. In China, we changed public policy. That before solar existed, if you were deaf, you could only be an artist. If you're blind, you can only give massages. We changed public policy. Deaf can now study electronics. In Brazil, we give over 5,000 voice, language, and speech therapy. We're looking to start a program in Winnipeg, Manitoba, with Aboriginal people who are deaf, then maybe one in Australia, do some cross-border leadership programs. And we're also talking to an organization in the Middle East of hiring deaf, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish people working together with a peace-building mission. So that second level is really about mission. And the third level is the empowerment of your workers. So 1 day a week, we actually don't work. We work on communication skills, building up their confidence. Because one of the cool things we do at SolarEar, it's not about just running a business in 3 dimensions. It's how do you replicate the second and third level? Any idiot can sell a product and make some money at it. Having a social mission is very nice, but then how do you replicate it globally? So one of the ways we did it is when we opened in Brazil, we had 3 workers who were deaf from rural Africa, from rural Botswana, take a 747 plane, so more people in that plane than in their village. They came to the zoo of São Paulo, a city of 17 million people. They trained the workers who are deaf. So it was the last part of their empowerment program from Botswana, and the first time the kids in Brazil had a deaf teacher. It was the first day of their empowerment program. It told them, wow, I could be a teacher one day. I could be a teacher one day. And they were, because we went to China, we had the kids from Brazil go to China. That's how we replicated it. And the kids from Botswana taught the kids in Brazil about HIV/AIDS. So you're always replicating and scaling your second and third level. That's the key to a good social business. So we really want to, I can't stress enough, the products we invented, and we started with the problem of a hearing aid battery. Again, a battery costs $1 and lasts a week. Our workers who are deaf invented this solar charger. Okay, they invented it. And the way it works is the sun is charging 2 AA batteries. At night, you take out your hearing aid battery, which we invented, that lasts 2 to 3 years, put it in, next morning you have a fresh battery. We went to Brazil. The kids in Brazil said, hey, that's no good for us. We don't have the same sun as you did in Africa. So we challenged them to invent the next generation, which they did, so household light works. And the kids in China, let's use a cell phone connector. When we go to the Mideast or the Aboriginal people in Canada, we're going to challenge them. And that's part of the empowerment, the development of technology. These products were invented started with 10 women who are deaf, with a grade 9 education, no water in the house, no electricity. And this has been exhibited in the Smithsonian Museum. It's on permanent exhibit at the Alexander Graham Bell Museum. And actually tonight, it'll be featured at the Bill and Melinda Gates Discovery Museum in Seattle. It's just amazing what they've done. They've inspired me. So, time's out. Thank you very much.
So, Howard, so everybody, please remember to ask questions through this app, which is another Tech for Good. But Howard, what's going to happen in the next couple of years? What plans do you have?
Okay. So we realized even if we made 2-3 million hearing aids, we're not solving the problem of hearing loss. Okay? 600 million people. So I realized, why not use a cell phone to become a hearing aid? Think about Alexander Graham Bell, a great Scot person. He invented the first telephone, and he did it for his mother who was deaf. So we're going to develop, using artificial intelligence, an app, have micro-entrepreneurs doing hearing testing in developing countries, have the results sent to Solar Ear Center, and using artificial intelligence, we'll be able to remotely program the user's cell phone, Android phone, to become a hearing aid, making it affordable and accessible for everybody, hopefully destroying the big capitalist hearing aid companies.
That's excellent. So next, let's hear from Nicole,
Great.
the digital superheroes.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Good afternoon. So just to start briefly with the problem we are addressing. So marginalized children and youth, including out of school, migrant, and other disadvantaged children, are especially vulnerable to risks such as abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And our team at Bondak Foundation recently published a report with UNICEF Thailand that explores the challenges faced by a specific population of marginalized children, children who live in construction site camps in Thailand. And there are tens of thousands of these children in Thailand. They're often not enrolled in school. They do not have access to vaccinations. They have many financial barriers, and they grow up in environments that pose serious safety risks. They're also often migrant, undocumented, sometimes stateless, and they have too few opportunities for safe play or just having fun with their friends. So many of these kids just don't get to be kids. And these kids need life skills. So skills that enable them to enroll in school, which they have the legal right to do in Thailand, to access preventative health and vaccinations or medical care when they get sick, and to learn how to stay safe in at-risk environments and understand their national identity documents. And most importantly, these life skills need to be made fun. So Bondak Foundation has developed the Digital Superheroes Academy. The Digital Superheroes Academy, as was mentioned earlier, it's an educational app that teaches critical thinking, life skills, and soft skills to vulnerable children living in slums and construction site camps in Thailand. And the app teaches these life skills as superpowers. So children become superheroes as they progress through the lessons. And in addition to learning how to access basic education and health services and how to stay safe in at-risk environments, the app also teaches the children tech literacy and soft skills. And as these children often face literacy barriers in traditional educational settings, the app is available in their own native languages to help enhance their understanding of this essential knowledge. So through our pilot project in this last year, we delivered life skill education using a web app and tablets that we would bring into these construction site camps and communities. And with our new Digital Superheroes Academy mobile app, children and families can now access this content and superhero games from their own low-tech devices, from wherever they are, which is especially important as this population tends to migrate frequently from place to place. And once downloaded, all of the content and games are available completely offline, so without use of any Wi-Fi or data, which is often limited in these communities where they live. So in the past year, we have developed a curriculum of 7 e-life skills, so including topics like fundamental child rights, equality and diversity, family nonviolence, electricity safety, among others. And each life skill is thoroughly researched and then translated into 4 languages of our population of interest. We're adding a 5th language later this year. It's then recorded with native language speakers, alternating between a male and a female voice. And then superhero-themed animations, images, and videos are created to help engage children in the content and try to make the learning fun. And that's all before digitizing and making each life skill available on both our web and mobile app. We also systematically gather the children's feedback during the creation phase of each life skill. So we go into the construction site camps and communities and ask them what they think, what they like, what they don't like. And this is especially important to make sure all of the life skills are both culturally appropriate and applicable to their specific needs. So in the past year, over our pilot, we delivered life skill education to more than 500 children in over 40 different construction site camps and slums in the north of Thailand. And as we begin to scale the project throughout the country, starting first in Bangkok within the next few months, Digital Superheroes Academy has the potential to reach thousands of migrant children in Thailand and vulnerable children throughout Southeast Asia. And so my presence here today is mostly due to a collaboration between Social Enterprise World Forum and MIT Solve. And our experience with MIT Solve has been extremely valuable. Becoming an MIT Solver has increased the visibility of Bond Act Foundation and the Digital Superheroes Academy, and it's led to new opportunities for us to connect with organizations, companies, and individuals who are all interested in supporting vulnerable children. And a strategic network of partners like these is fundamental for us to expand Digital Superheroes Academy. And MIT Solve has also connected us with the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and we received the DFAT Indo-Pacific Prize. And at the MIT Solve event this past May, which is where this photo was taken, we received continued funding in order to more extensively monitor student learning and our social impact as we scale the program starting this next year to reach thousands of children throughout Thailand. And what stood out to us the most about this collaboration with MIT Solve and DFAT is that it's led to a much broader collaboration with the Australian government, both for Digital Superheroes Academy as well as support to these children more generally. So for example, our connection with Solve and DFAT has led to a strategic partnership with Australia Direct Aid in order to support water, sanitation, and hygiene projects and access to clean drinking water in the vulnerable communities where our target children live. It's also connected us to Ambassador Paul Robiliard and the Australian Embassy in Thailand, who have supported our work in many ways, including finding us the exact mobile development team that we needed to help us develop this specific app with our specific needs for this population, and provide that technical expertise that we needed. So continued partnerships, I think, is our key takeaway, and that's what we need to really fully scale the Digital Superheroes Academy and reach its full potential for impact. And we've already done so much with our partners, and we're looking forward to the exciting results ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I dropped out of junior high school, so I learned everything from the internet. And so programs like this, I think, are truly transformative. And there's already someone on the Q&A asking, what's your scaling aspirations? How would you like to scale this internationally?
Internationally?
Yeah.
So our plan first is to have some sector-wide effect. So we're really focusing in, at least on this next year, in construction site camps and partnering with construction companies, and ideally getting Digital Superheroes Academy on every construction site camp in Thailand. But the program itself, as long as you adapt the curriculum to different populations and needs, can be adapted throughout countries anywhere and life skill education can be for children all over.
That's awesome. Thank you. So let's now hear from Ray from Auticon on neurodiversity.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ray Coyle. It's my immense privilege to be the CEO of Auticon in the UK. Auticon is a IT consultancy business. And we operate like lots of other different IT consultancy businesses. We hire really bright people, we send them out to our corporate clients, and they work on IT projects, and they do data analytics, and they do all sorts of very complicated and interesting things, some of which I understand. We operate internationally. The company was set up in Germany in 2011. We've got offices in the UK, which I run, offices in France and Switzerland. We've just recently opened up an office in the States, and we're opening up in Italy and Canada towards the end of this year. So it's a global business, and we operate on a very commercial basis. But we're a social enterprise, and our social purpose is at the heart of everything that we do. And the thing that makes us different from other IT consultancy businesses is that all of the consultants, all of the people that we send out to our clients, are all on the autism spectrum. And there are two reasons why we exclusively employ people on the autism spectrum. One is that, as I said, we have a social purpose at the heart of what we do. These figures relate to UK autism rates and employment. So in the UK, there are 700,000 autistic people. That translates to about 70 million people worldwide. So, sorry, Howard, you've won on the numbers game. What can you do? In the UK, only 16% of autistic people are in full-time employment. And that's despite 78% of autistic people wanting to be in full-time employment. So there's a huge problem to be addressed. There's a huge talent pool that is lost to society. So we at Auticon have decided, well, let's tap into this talent pool. Let's start to recruit these people and see what happens. And what happened was we found amazingly skilled people. We've built up 155 consultants since we've added the US office and some more recruitment since this slide has been prepared. We're now up at about 200 consultants. And over 20% of our consultants are educated to a PhD level. This is despite the fact that 80% are unemployed when they come to us and over 50% long-term unemployed. We define long-term unemployed as more than 5 years. We take a standard measure across our business. So there's a huge talent pool out there that we can tap into at the same time as being a huge social problem that needs to be addressed. The second reason we exclusively employ autistic people is that there are certain things that autistic people do better. There are certain skills that are more prevalent among the autistic community, and when you find them, they're more prominent in autistic people. And we've worked with academia to identify what those skills are, and they are attention to detail, sustained concentration, pattern recognition, turning lights off and on again. There's one here somewhere. Error detection and logical analysis. See, I can still do it even with the lights going on and off. And these particular skills have got huge commercial value, particularly within IT projects, and that's why we're set up as an IT consultancy business. We've also found that when you put autistic people in to work alongside neurotypical people, when you create neurodiverse teams, you get much better communication, you get much better quality work, you get much more open and much more honest feedback. You get very honest feedback, believe me. I've had to learn over the last couple of years to get used to that. It's all good. There are areas within IT that we find that we can really specialize in, that we can provide additional value in. Areas like data analytics, like cybersecurity, where it is very well documented that we have skills shortages. The crazy thing when I started working in this business that I realized is that on the one hand, we have skills shortages. We have gaps in STEM skills, in data analytics, in cybersecurity. And on the other side, we have these enormously skilled, talented people who have exactly the cognitive capabilities that we're looking for, yet they're unemployed and marginalized by society. So we've developed a means of recruiting, assessing the skills of people on the autism spectrum. We do things very differently. We don't interview people. I'm not a great believer in interviews at all. It's a test of social interaction skills. It makes no sense if you want to work out what people are capable of doing in their role. We don't really bother with people's CVs. That's history. That doesn't tell you what people can do in the future. It tells you what they've done in the past. So we focus on... We try and focus. We focus in on those 5 skills, and that's what we assess people for. And when we find those skills, we can build up people's IT skills. You can teach people how to develop Java code, but you can't really teach people how to turn lights on and off again with this kind of regularity without really intensive training. We can work on technical, but you can't change people's cognitive skills as easily, is the point I'm trying to make. Once we have people on board and we understand their cognitive capabilities, we match them up to roles and clients, and we provide them with support. We have job coaches that help to bridge the gap between our autistic team and the neurotypical workplace that they have to go into. The problem isn't with people on the autism spectrum. The problem is that the workplace is built for the 99% and not the 1%, for obvious logical reasons. But that gap needs to be bridged. So we provide the support not only to our consultants, but also to our clients, to give the teams that they go into the confidence to engage in a positive way with somebody on the autism spectrum, so that we can actually create a truly inclusive environment rather than merely creating diversity. If we can get all of this right, when we get all of this right, and we understand people's cognitive capabilities correctly, we match them up with the right role, and we provide them with the right level of support, the results we get are outstanding. Our clients tell us that building neurodiverse teams delivers them better performance in the individual role. The individual will perform better than a neurotypical person in the same role. They get better performance from their teams because they bring neurodiversity, they bring another perspective, they bring new problem-solving abilities. And they get better results from their business as a whole because neurodiversity drives better performance, drives better communication, and it drives a happier, more functional workforce. As a social enterprise, it's not just about us delivering for our clients, although that's important. That's how we thrive and survive as a business. We've also got to deliver for our employees. Our autistic colleagues are all full-time, permanent employees of our business, regardless of whether they're in client projects or not. They have stable, long-term careers, and we put a lot of work into developing career paths for them. We want to deliver for society. We want to address a problem in society that a lot of money has been thrown at, but that hasn't been solved. The employment numbers haven't moved in a long, long time. And we want to create a truly inclusive society by acting as a catalyst so that when our consultants go out into our blue chip clients, they start people thinking about building a more neurodiverse workforce together. And it's through doing that, through partnering with commercial organizations, that we will really address this problem, because it's not something we can do on our own. Thank you for your time.
That was amazing, and truly inclusion drives innovation.
It does, and the other way around.
So let's now hear from Carol.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Thank you a lot for the invitation. I'm going to share with you a little bit about Social Good Brazil and some of our learnings back in Brazil. And I'm going to start about when we founded back in 2012 and invite you to picture how was society back in 2012, not so long ago, 6 years ago. We were realizing the emergence, a lot of crowdfunding platforms, sharing the possibility of social ventures being funded by the crowd, or even lots of digital campaigns and mobilization using hashtags were emerging, allowing people to, from whatever they are, to be related to a cause, to get engaged and to influence other people for their causes. So in that time, we realized how technology was giving to all of us such an amazing power. So from whatever place, we have the power to get engaged globally and to influence other people. And then technology can be used for bad or for good. And then since the beginning, we realized and we had this assumption that if we talk about technology, we should always talk about human competences. And new human competences like ethics, empathy, collaboration, because technology only maximizes who we are. And even now, 6 years later, We have the emergence of new exponential technologies like artificial intelligence, big data, IoT, and we realize that this is getting even more relevant. So, and when I hear my colleagues talking, that reinforces my assumption how it's so important that we deliver hard skills, technical skills, but also soft skills that are much beyond, much harder to deliver and to build capacity, but it's much more related to our hearts and to our soul. And this is all about humanity. So the first thing I like to shift is the mindset that technology is something too hard and too techy, is that together we always should have people in the center and also talk about human competences. So this is a little bit of our soul and a little bit of our heart and why do we exist. We exist to encourage individuals and organizations to use the power of technology and develop human competences to drive society to a better place, to solve social and environmental problems, focusing the global goals. We are part of this global movement called Plus Social Good, which is led by the United Nations Foundation, and I am one of the global advisors. And again, technology is also about new mindsets. So we are super connected to how collaborative economy is also driving new possibilities, and is also not only about technology, but new mindsets of how we are organized, how we are using technology for anything we're doing. We're doing more in a distributed way, in a radical transparency. And I just find out that one of the persons who led this global movement called New Power, he just launched a book in our last festival, Henry Teams and Jeremy Hamans. They were like our keynote speakers just a few days ago. They wrote the New Power book and they launched it in Portuguese in Brazil, and that there is a chapter dedicated to our friend Andrade. I just found out that a few minutes ago. So now I want you to just experience a little bit of what we do, because I talk a little bit about our soul, and then I'm gonna click a video so you can see what we do. These videos without the subtitles in English. It should have the subtitles in English, but anyway.
I think this is a great festival. I've been to similar events both in the US and in other countries, and it's always really exciting to see the energy for social entrepreneurship around the world.
Milhares de pessoas querem contribuir, querem fazer a diferença e não sabem como. Então imagina levar esse social good para mais e mais pessoas. Com certeza esse é o caminho do futuro.
Pensem num aspecto que até pouco tempo atrás a gente falava muito, não, vou abrir uma empresa para ganhar dinheiro e fazer transformação social é depois que eu começar a ganhar dinheiro. Nós passamos essa fase. Hoje nós estamos na fase do e. Dá para fazer as duas coisas. E se eu quero ganhar R$1 milhão, pense em beneficiar 1 milhão de pessoas.
Esse é o caminho da inovação, é a mudança de comportamento e as pessoas acreditarem que tem o poder na ponta dos dedos, e elas têm.
Tem gente trabalhando, dedicando a vida, colocando sua energia de trabalho, habilidades a favor de resolver questões que são problemas.
That was just, yeah, probably one of the best 1 hours and like best 2 days like of my life.
Se não partir de cada um de nós, é uma transformação interna primeiro, para depois ser uma transformação ao nosso redor.
Thank you. Sorry for the... Sorry that the subtitles didn't appear in English, but briefly, what then we do, we have 3 programs. One is our festival that this year was our 7th festival. This is pretty much the size of this one, plus thousands of people online. We have a fellowship programs, which is around 60 leaders from all over Brazil, from south to north of Brazil, different backgrounds. That they have toolkits of social good Brazil to deliver in their own way, in their own community. And we offer a laboratory for social entrepreneurs and social investors to develop their innovations using technology for social good. This year, we renewed all the programs to look more for exponential technologies, and we are super focused on data for good. So we just had the 10th cohort now. Our history is 550 social entrepreneurs who took part of our programs. And then now we're doing the laboratory on data for good as a focus. And our greatest challenge and the message I want to deliver to you is that we want to include as much as possible a lot of diversity when we talk about technology. We don't want to be, again, in a group of people that are elite talking about how we can use technology. And then, as we are totally focused on how can we drive for good, we have this manifesto that is how can we include as much as possible people who are deaf, and then we have several programs, and I was talking with Howard that we are involved with them a lot in our programs, people who are Black, so the fellowship, half of our leaders are people who are Black, and different other kinds of diversities. Otherwise, we don't believe we are going to make such an impact we hope we are going to have. So, thank you.
That's amazing. So we have about half an hour for questions, and there's like 30 questions already. So I'll combine the questions a little bit. And in particular, there's like 5 questions for Roy, all pretty similar.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read. Are you mission locked to focus on autism, and how did this idea start? Are you expanding to like dementia or other kinds of neurodiversity, ADD, and so on? And also, how do you talk to your supply chain people?
Okay, that's a few questions. We are 100% focused on autism. And the reason that we're focused on autism is that if you look at the employment rates for disability generally, it's about 48% in the UK, whereas autism is down at 16. So that's why we decided to focus there. The nature of autism means that we have rates of ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, et cetera, within our workforce that are much, much higher than other businesses. So it does mean that we are engaging with many different forms of neurodiversity as a business. I believe that the way in which we have structured our business and the approach that we have taken to a particular group that is marginalized by society is an approach that could be taken and could be replicated across different groups within society. However, I believe that should be done by different businesses, because it's much easier to go to market with a very focused, simple proposition. People have very short attention spans. So I think you've got to go out with something pretty simple and punchy.
Okay.
And you asked how we engage
like
with our...
what's the supply chain message you're sending? Like, because you call yourself Auticon, obviously that's part of the branding.
Yeah.
But what are other messages, or are there any other messages you're sending to your, like, throughout the supply chain about the importance of neurodiversity, for example?
I think the message that we try and give the clients that we work with is that we are part of a solution and we are part of a journey. And the way that we want to work with our corporate partners is to say that this is a way for you to bring some neurodiversity into your business. It's a way for you to learn. It's a way for you to start engaging with this and start to take steps, see how it applies within your own business, with a view to getting to a point where businesses are neurodiverse to the extent that they reflect the society that they serve. But that's a long journey, and we are part of the solution. We're not the solution, but we want to start people on that journey.
Awesome, thank you. So for both Carol and Nicole, there were like 3 questions each, all asking about revenue streams. Like, what do you see, where do you see your revenue streams? Are they through investment, grant funding, crowdfunding, or any other combination of those? And where do you see your revenue streams going in the next few years? So maybe Carol first.
Yeah. Right now, Social Good Brazil is funded around 30% of crowdfunding from the crowd that you saw in the video, for example, and 70% of foundations and large companies in Brazil that believe in our own values. So, such as Fundação Telefônica Vivo and C.I.C Institute that they appear in the video. And we realize for some time that we have to develop further and innovate in our own business model. We are a nonprofit, but we truly believe we can be a very innovative nonprofit. So right now, for instance, the new laboratory that I mentioned, that is Data for Good, that we redesigned after 9 cohorts of social entrepreneurs, we did the first cohort for social investors. And we believe that it can be like something new to offer value and exchange and get some revenues out of this laboratory as well. So we always think we can mix, make a blend of revenues.
This sounds like a pretty good strategy. And Nicole?
Yeah, so Bandek Foundation is a Thai registered foundation, nonprofit status. And I mentioned, so Digital Superheroes Academy specifically receives a lot of funding from the Australian government. So it's mostly funded through that grant at the moment. We also have some private company donations as well as individual donations, which is where most of our revenue for the entire foundation mostly comes from. And in future, it's trying more to partner with the companies directly, the construction site companies. And we found our kind of pitch to them is what's good for kids is also good for the companies, and that those that are supporting children, it's also they've performed better on the stock exchange of Thailand. You can have better worker retention, worker productivity. So it's a partnership that we're trying to develop for them to fund directly as well.
It's a common good message.
Yes.
There's a question just in. Have you ever experienced any aversion from the parents or from the community around the curricula that you're introducing? Like fear, uncertainty, or doubt?
Not so much. So we work directly with the parents quite a bit as well. So we also have a life skill education program for parents and for peer leaders in the community to train them on how to enroll children in school, access healthcare, on the national documents they need, and how to improve different things and become leaders in their community and really empower them. So I think they're receiving that training on the one hand, so they're very supportive of the training that we're also doing with the children.
Right, they're part of the stakeholders, and they're also part of the teacher and student. That's great.
Yeah, we've had one community in particular where the parents would kind of come. This was a newer community to us. They didn't know us quite so well. And they would kind of watch as we work with the children, follow along as they played the game. And most of the the children did not have health insurance cards in this community, and they were doing the lesson on fundamental child rights, which includes the access to health and how to do that in this country. And the parents were really interested, and we found out that the next week they kind of gathered a group of moms, and they all went and got their health insurance cards all together. And it's like a really good case story of seeing the direct impact in behavior.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you. For Solar, there's plenty of people thinking it's truly innovative and international, but also how do you come about this idea in the first place?
Okay. There's an African expression which goes, a blessing can be found next to the wound. About 22 years ago, my daughter Sarah died in the middle of the night of a brain aneurysm. I went back to work the next week where I was president of an international plumbing business, and this nice American Trump type person fired me my first day back at work because they figured I couldn't make a profit for them. And they're right. Trust me, if you lose a child, you're lost. So I did a year of psychotherapy, then found the therapist needed more help than I did. He was crazy. Started another business, didn't enjoy it. So I figured I have these skills as a business person. Why not go to Africa, help women earn a salary, because men are pretty useless. Because women will take care of the health and education of the children. So I went as like a Peace Corps volunteer to Africa. And my first day in this office, half the size of the stage here, we had no product, no people, no money. I was just there to start a program for women, to empower them. And there was a knock at the door, and there's a lady with a teenage girl. And the lady says, my student here, Sarah, with the same name as my daughter, needs a hearing aid. I said, okay, Sarah's going to get a hearing aid. So I went to see Sarah at the School for the Deaf and just listened to her dreams. And she was the one who came up with the idea of, hey, let's make a low-cost rechargeable hearing aid battery. Let's use the sun, which is free. Let's create jobs for women with a disability. See, the ideas came from her. So in a way, Solar became my blessing from the wound of Sarah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. So there's a couple of questions for all, and you can choose to answer or to skip. Right, there's a question for all. It depends, right? So you all obviously contributed massively to the social impact. What about the environmental side? I mean, this whole tech sector has a reputation of putting, maybe some social good, but externalities on the environmental side. So are you doing anything, if any, to measure or to manage or to somehow make peace with the environment that you're in? Let's again start with Kara.
Yeah, I was making like a movement. I can answer that. First of all, I don't see us any perfect. I see we are all learning all the time. And to be humble is part of the process to innovate every day. I truly believe in that. But something we tried since, for instance, our first festival, which events, they usually have impact, right? It's to try to have zero waste. So we brought in partners that are zero waste organizations. So basically, we don't offer plastic cups. We have this partnership in Brazil. It's Copo Eco. It's a beautiful cup that you can get the cup, use during the festival and return it, or you can bring home because it has a nice design. Or we don't offer, since the beginning, any kind of gifts or papers. And even we say we are digital, let's do more digital things. And even to our partners, many times, like a sponsor, they want to bring like a gift to say, okay, let's try to do something different. And we talk to them and we negotiate to do it in a different way. So these are some little steps we try, and we also do the carbon footprint of the conference, and then we do some compensation later. Usually with another partner in the town as, for instance, reforestation. Is that correct, right? Yeah, doing something like that, which I don't think is the best thing, but it's a way to do it. So basically, and we try to apply this for everything we are doing as an organization. Try to be much coherent as possible, but as I said, it's not perfect. So we are always open to learn from anyone here.
That's great. Do you have?
I better not skip, it's tempting. The answer to what we're doing is not enough, I think, if I'm honest. And I speak for Auticon in the UK, we're only a 2-year-old business, and I don't think, and we've acknowledged that we haven't had enough focus on this aspect of our impact. We've just commissioned our impact report for 2018, which Esme Fairbairn one of our shareholders, helping us to fund. And that will include our first environmental impact assessment for our UK business. And I think that's only the first step, but it's a very important first step, because you've got to understand your impact before you can seek to address it. But I think it's probably an area that I would acknowledge we're further behind on than we should be.
Cool.
Great. So 2 of the life skills we've developed actually are on clean energy and waste management. 2 of the ones I didn't mention. But so this is a focus, especially in the communities where they live. This has been a problem with waste gathering and just environmental safety. And in addition, we've also just learning about the issues. Sometimes there are factors outside of their control. We can tell them to recycle, but if all they get are these same bags from the one food place where they buy their food, they can't do much. So we've also installed the 4 different recycling bins for the government of Thailand into all of the camps.
Oh, wow.
So we've been working on that, as well as distributing solar lights. And this was actually due to a concern with safety, going to the toilets at night. A lot of the children say they're afraid going at night because of animals and others. It's partly outdoors. So safety with solar lights. And a new project we're actually just starting is installing more, not just handheld solar lights, which we've done so far, but installing more solar lights into the communities themselves for more central lighting. So it's an issue we are working on.
That's great. Yeah. So.
Well, the environment is very core to one of the second level of social mission. So again, we make a rechargeable hearing aid battery that costs $1 and lasts 2 to 3 years versus one that lasts a week. So we have saved over 18 million zinc air batteries from being thrown out so far.
That's awesome. So with 15 minutes left and even more questions coming in, okay, so there is a common thread here about tech as nothing mysterious. It's something democratic that people can understand, that people can access. So what do you think that because currently the big tech is awash with buzzwords like distributed ledger, machine learning, and I'm using the less buzzy of those buzzwords. But you're working with very practical, off-the-shelf or newly invented, but still very practical responding to social need. So do you think that there is a message to those buzzy words, and also what's the relationship you have when you're a supply chain partner, when you're a grant maker, and so on? Ask you, what about blockchain? And then what would be your answer to that? And again, maybe start with Carol.
I want to make sure I understood the question.
Yeah.
How do we explain and make it more practical, these new emerging technologies?
That's right. Yes.
Right. Great.
Make it more human.
Yeah, I think the best way is to share examples, right? So there is, for instance, there is an example that I like a lot that it's a social innovation. They developed the technology in the laboratory 2 years ago, I guess. I think you saw in the news 2 years ago about the Zika virus, right, from the Aedes aegypti. And then there was this group of entrepreneurs from Brazil that they wanted to make it faster, the way you can monitor the eggs of the mosquito, to make sure the public service can go there and destroy it. because it's a big, big issue, not only about dengue, but the Zika virus. And then what they have developed, it's a learning machine that are both being able to use a lot of data and to count the eggs in a superior level than people capacity. And this is what I think it's a good way to use artificial intelligence and data, is when you can use the artificial intelligence to go beyond human capacity to a good thing. So because of that, they are monitoring in a much faster way the eggs of the mosquito. The other example that is also a machine learning example, the artificial intelligence example, is in Brazil. Brazil is well known for corruption, right? Which is something super bad. So there was this, they called this robot from artificial intelligence called Rose. That was like a joke. But the idea of the robot is to get all the public information around reimbursements from public deputy, should I say that in English? Yeah, public officials, public officials. So get all the public information that are transparent, but no one can really understand, right? So they took all the information about reimbursements, and the machine could learn with some criteria and could read them and say which were illegal reimbursements. So out of this machine, they could, in a much faster way, like 1,000 faster than human capacity, read all the reimbursements notes and realize there were a lot of illegal reimbursements happening, like reimbursement for alcoholic drinks, or reimbursement happening at the same time in different parts of the country. It's impossible, right? To one person be in the south and the north of Brazil at the same time. So they could report all this illegal reimbursement, and all the money went back to the public government. So these are examples that I like. And artificial intelligence and data, for me, they are even closer to our reality that can be used for good.
And it's still driven by good, by social value, and also by collaboration with people who need those public information. So I think those are excellent examples.
I think we have a huge problem with people engaging in and being comfortable with technology. I was speaking to the head of HR of a big global business recently, and they were talking about bringing in bots v bodies, so bringing in robots and AI to replace humans. And they thought they would lose about 12% of their workforce by doing this. But they would add 13% to their workforce through doing this. And what they're losing would be relatively low-skilled, customer-facing jobs, people picking up phones and tapping at screens. And what they're gaining is much more rewarding jobs dealing with technology. The problem is we don't have the people coming through the education system, and this isn't a UK problem, it's a worldwide problem. We don't have the people coming through the educational system that have the level of understanding of technology to fill those 13% of jobs. So we are, as a society, we are sleepwalking into a massive disparity between supply and demand in the labour market. And I think we've got to do something about it at the education level globally. This isn't a kind of a first world, developed world problem. We've got to do something about it globally at primary education level. And I think there is a huge opportunity to drive more equality globally, if only we could build up some of those skills in developing economies, in developing countries where there should be opportunities to get people involved in technology and get people comfortable with technology. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think there is a real opportunity as the economy shifts towards digital.
Yeah, and Taiwan can help. We can talk. And yes, Nicole.
So I think when we talk about tech and tech for good, I think people think these really big tech ideas and AI, and I think tech doesn't have to be so complicated. There's tech that can be very simple, that can be really life-changing. But I think, as you were saying, if we can teach tech literacy, you know, in these camps, right from the start, it can have a big impact.
So just people like feeling that it's like just personal computer, you know, that it's personal.
Exactly, it's a tool. So actually Digital Superheroes came from an in-person program that we did called Superheroes Academy before the digital, where our social workers and teachers would physically go into the communities and teach life skills as superpowers and bring capes and very interactive. It's a lot of fun. And the idea was how can we scale this? And that's using the tech tool. If we make this an app and make them videos rather than a social worker in front of you, is the potential to reach many more children with the same ideas, same concepts.
So that's how Digital Superhero came about.
That's how it came about.
That's great.
Well, two things. Again, our mission is to get a child a low-cost product so they can develop speech, go to school, and get an education. So we didn't patent anything we made. Because we patent something, I'm going to pay some lawyer $100,000, and the product just tripled in price. It makes it unaffordable. So we don't patent anything. We actually want our competitors to copy us, use the power of their distribution to get more children a low-cost product around the world. Unfortunately, they haven't. They still want to sell to the wealthy people. So the second thing we do, too, is when we open a new solar ear, it's not myself who opens it. It's an organization in a developing country comes to me and says, I want to replicate the solar ear. We donate over $1.5 million of technology for free. We write the business plans for them, help them write the cash flow, help them raise the money, and then it's 100% owned and operated by them if they run it as a sustainable social business, if they hire people who are deaf, and if they have a social mission, which they determine. So, I don't know if our new model is capitalism in its purest form, or I'm anti-capitalist because I was fired. I need more therapy to figure that out.
Wow. Okay. So with less than 10 minutes left, I think, I'll just ask each of you to share with us any message or thoughts around Tech for Good going forward as a community and as a society. Anything that comes to your mind.
Okay, very fast.
Yes.
I think I talked at the beginning, which is our manifesto. It's something that is deeply in my soul, that I believe is that the most important message when we talk about technology is how this is a powerful tool in any hands. And what we want is to be in good hands. So we have the mission to never only talk about technology, but also about the importance of all of us to see ourselves as like a change maker, as someone that it really can drive your own life to a new level, and also look collectively and collaborative to your community and do something. So we often get many people that they come to our festival because they want to make a contribution and they don't know yet how. And then something we see that is super powerful is that they can connect it to other people that have the same feeling. They also want to contribute, and they can use lots of technology to help them out on that. But we are always looking for the aspects that technology can be used for bad and for good, to not be naive about it. But how can we use them for good and take advantage of all those people that they really want to make a contribution. So that's my final message, is that technology is a lot about human competences, and it should be focused in empathy, like exponential empathy, exponential collaboration, not only exponential technology.
Well, that's a great message. Yes.
I think for me it's all about inclusivity, and I think that technology has the potential to create a much more inclusive society. And when I think of an inclusive society, I mean, the people that we work with, people who have autism, people with disability, people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people who are deaf. I think that is the theme that's coming through, and following on from what you said, from everything here, is that technology has the power to create a more inclusive society by giving people better opportunities. And an inclusive society means that people have the confidence to contribute what they're capable of contributing. It's not just about bringing people in, but bringing them in a way that they have the confidence to contribute what they can offer to society. And if technology can do that, we can create a much better world.
Awesome. Yes.
Yes. So I think it's kind of the importance of life skills. So learning the hard skills, learning what everyone's learning in traditional education can be delivered through this technology, and so can soft skills, life skills, critical thinking. And some of the things that these children are learning are truly life-saving. It's what to do in emergency situations, emergency numbers to call, domestic violence, sexual abuse prevention, kind of some key, really important issues that affect this population. And technology is the tool. It's the way to really expand and scale this information to everyone who needs it. And there are some life skills that are proven for improved educational and professional opportunities in the future that are applicable to children all over the world. So using that technology, it can really spread the message.
Yeah, let's amplify the message.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the key is to start a project as a stupid person. Being able to listen. You know, I started a project with people who are deaf. I've worked with kids in a favela in Rio, Palestinian refugee camps. And it's really a matter of listening to what their needs are and helping them fulfill their dreams. Just go in stupid, and you'll be successful. I'm a prime example of being stupid. Trust me.
Yeah. That's really, really powerful. Again, a round of applause to the great panelists. So, if I may, can show you the slides. To kind of conclude the day, when I took the post of digital minister 2 years ago, as a conservative anarchist, I had a compact, not a contract. But still, the administration asked me for a job description. So instead of job description, I just wrote them a prayer, a poem, which I'm going to read to you now as kind of my message about digital technology with an aim for social good. And it goes like this. When we see Internet of Things, let's make it an Internet of Beings. When we see virtual reality, let's make it a shared reality. When we see machine learning, let's make it collaborative learning. When we see user experience, let's make it about human experience. And whenever we hear that the singularity is near, let us always remember the plurality is here. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Did you send me that, huh? Yes, sure. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Audrey, and all the panel for sharing these diverse and very moving experiences. I was interested in hearing Howard talking about stupid there, and it reminded me of the great social entrepreneur Muhammad Yunus, who started the microcredit revolution in Bangladesh. And I was talking to him about his experience, and I said, Muhammad, what did you know about banking when you started out? He said nothing, and he said that's why I could do it, because I knew nothing and there was nothing that could stop me. And I think that, in a way, it's been such a thrill for me today to hear all these experiences, these extraordinary experiences of social enterprises around the world, and the people who've driven them. And I think that, in a way, that's been behind it all. This feeling that I don't know everything, but I'm going to go for this, and at whatever cost. I was very struck this morning by talking to Kibret, hearing about how he sold his house and what that cost him, what that cost his family. Brukti, also in Ethiopia, talking so movingly about empowering young girls there and the cost of that for her. Adele, that amazingly simple but moving video that struck home, I think, with everybody sitting here about what equality actually is and what it certainly isn't in the world today. So it's been a fascinating day for me, and you know, thank you all for contributing to it. Everything we've heard in the name of simple humanity and the advancement of simple humanity in the world today, and it's in your power to go out and change the world. And that's absolutely fantastic. So well done, everybody. Now, before I go, I just need to tell you, sorry, you're all standing looking at me here. You were halfway off the stage. Just some final thoughts for this evening, very practical stuff. There's a ceilidh this evening. For those of you who have tickets for that, it's taking place in the Jam House on Queen Street. And if you want to find that, you just check the map in the app. It's from 7 to 11. I'm afraid it's full if you haven't got a ticket, but for those who do, you have a wonderful evening ahead. There's world food provided, a buffet there provided by social enterprises. There'll be some traditional entertainment, by which I mean that there's going to be a ceilidh band and you're all going to be taught how to do Scottish country dancing. We hope to see you there, or if you do have your own plans, enjoy the evening, and we'll see you here at 8:40 tomorrow morning for yoga, apparently, or 9 a.m. for the start of our Future of Business plenary. So enjoy your evening and the rest of the forum. Goodbye.